It's great to be back with Anastasiya Baydachenko, and this is great, Anastasiya. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Louis, and thank you so much for this interview. It's very important for us and for Ukraine to be heard.
Well, that's what we'll do here today is hear you and listen closely, because that's what we in the world must do every day. We must not stop listening closely. So let's begin that and talk about Kiev. What's happening now in Kiev? I heard that there is some relative calm. Tell me more about the current situation in Kiev.
Okay, I'm and my family still in Kiev. Now I'm in shelter, not because we are having air attack, but in case we will have during the interview, I sit in shelter to make all this in safe mode. Comparing to the March situation in April in Kiev and Kiev region is much better. Much better in terms of risks, and we have heavy artillery attacks to the suburbs of Kiev, to some districts of Kiev, and actually it was very noisy, and I was stressed because it's very heavy and fearful noise. But now Kiev region is free of occupants, is free of Russian soldiers, and we have almost zero risk of heavy artillery attack because all these machines should be about 30 or 40 kilometers in order to attack effectively. That is why Kiev and region, and I could say almost all territory of Ukraine still is the object of air attack. They use rockets, they use military plane to attack us, but in Kiev we have quite good air defense system. And it's not very automated, but it depends of skills of our armed force, and I'm proud that they are very good in air defense in Kiev, at least. I think from the beginning of April, when the towns near the Kiev were free of Russian soldiers, we feel ourselves much better, and also it was understandable of small and middle businesses in Kiev. Everything like restaurants, coffee shops, cafes, barber shops, nail services, a lot of small businesses relaunched their work. And it became much better with food supply, with some medicines delivery. It was not completely catastrophe in Kiev in March, but in April everything become in a more normal or way we should see it in normal our peaceful life. Also, there is a good situation with city municipal transport, and our main transport artery is underground, and our underground is almost in working mode. We have some longer pauses between trains arrivals, but it's I could say in almost normal working mode, and it is possible for all city population, for all people to move, to go to their jobs and do their works. And also one of the signals that things become better in Kiev was that Kiev citizens. Kiev is a city with population more than 4, or by some estimation even 5 million people, and at least half of them fled during the March. And now almost 1 million people come back, and we see even some traffic jam. There were no traffic jam in March. It's not typical situation for Kiev. We are heavy transported city, and we have, as usual, a lot of traffic jams. And in April we have already some traffic jams. From the one hand, I, as a woman, as a Ukrainian citizen, should feel myself better. But every time I think about about my city, my Kiev, I think about the price. What price we pay as nation, as Ukraine, to have Kiev, to keep Kiev in peace. Because a lot of small villages near Kiev and Kiev region, a lot of small towns like Bucha, like Irpin, like Hostomel, they were destroyed completely. Yes, they stopped our enemies. But what was the price? Actually, when in the beginning of April, our armed force goes to Bucha, to Irpin, to Hostomel, they find out actually a lot of military crimes, crimes against civil people, crime against civil men, civil women, and even civil children. It was murders, it was a lot of sexual crimes, it was a lot of lupin and murdery. And actually, it's not a story of a kind of fifth handshake. Olena, it's our industrial project project manager. She lived in Bucha, and she successfully escaped in the beginning of March, I could say. And now when she come back to her home, her city almost destroyed, and her houses were subject of artillery attack. Some apartments were destroyed. A lot of windows lost their glasses and destroyed. Almost every apartment was robbed. And it is typical situation. It is the price Kiev and Ukraine paid for keeping Kiev as capital safe. And it causes a lot of questions and tasks for us and for our government, because our defense line should also include not only Kievan borders, but also borders of small towns. We should reestablish defense line of our villages, because a lot of villages were destroyed by tanks, by artillery, and also robbed. And we actually, as country, were not prepared so good for the war. But I couldn't say that any country except Israel is always ready for such kind of war. So it's like a kind of spoon of my maybe not very happy thoughts in terms that in Kiev things are much better, and in northern Ukraine, Kiev region, Chernigiv region, Sumy region, situation is much better in terms of safety, in terms of food supply, in terms of water supply, electricity, and so on. But I couldn't help thinking about all these victims, all that price we paid as a country for the Kiev stability and safety.
You know, I know that you've mentioned the crimes, sexual crimes, murdering. Yeah. You know, this is just incredible, and it's such an awful atrocity. And the war crimes are currently being held even in the international tribunals, and going through several loopholes and bureaucracy to get there. What do you say to the International Criminal Court, you yourself and other Ukrainian women and citizens? What should happen after these war crimes? What do you expect to happen? What do you call for?
I think we should have a court or a tribunal, military tribunal, because a lot of Ukrainian people became victims of military crimes. Actually, our government is good with procedures of documenting all these crimes. Also, we invite foreign experts and specialists with the task to well document and well record all these crimes. We also have our application. It's a government application, DIA, and any person who lost his home or his car, or any received any damages from Russian army, they could use this application to make photos and appeal for material support. And this also a possibility to have mass recording, because people go to their come back to their homes and record all the things and upload the photos to the application. And government and our Ministry of Digital Transformation could manage this data massive arrival and could also make a recording of crimes. It is very useful in terms of houses destruction, in terms of robbery, in terms of looting and something like that. But when we speak about, for example, murders or sexual crimes, we need support and expertise of doctors, of medical experts. And in terms of, for example, sexual crimes, there is a very low and not optimistic statistic, because in Ukraine, less than 30% of, for example, rape victims go to the police and report, because it's a very sensitive issues, and we even couldn't estimate the full number of victims of such crimes. But as our ombudsman Denisova reported yesterday, almost 400 cases of sexual assaults were recorded. So there is actually a lot of materials for Ukrainian courts, and it could be materials and arguments even for military tribunal, because sexual crimes during war, it's military crimes. That is why me and my colleagues, people I speak, my friends, we are believes that one day all responsible people will be under a military tribunal. Maybe it was case like it was similar to the Nuremberg process, but we trust and we believe that one day it became possible. What make me more optimistic is that we could prove, for example, sexual crimes much easier that it was possible 20 years ago because of DNA analysis. And it could almost with 30% guarantee name the criminal. That is why our key task now is to fix and to record and keep all the materials concerning the crimes issues, military crimes, and the level of digitalization of Ukraine help us to do it in a full scope and to do it effectively. And I hope and I believe it's not only my position, but it's position of also our president, our government. One day, all criminals will be under the tribunal.
That's a great commentary, great explanation of what is to come and what you as a Ukrainian and all Ukrainians desire. I do believe that the International Criminal Court is one way, like they did in the Nuremberg trials. The issue, though, is bringing them to Ukraine. So bringing Russian soldiers to Ukraine to be tried in Ukrainian courts for their crimes. And we'll need both, wouldn't you say? Because back, we look at World War II and see that, well, International Criminal Court didn't quite work well with German troops. They needed to bring them to Israel in order to be tried properly and justly, to hear from the victims themselves. Do you have similar thoughts in Ukraine about Russian soldiers being tried in Ukraine rather than in the International Criminal Court?
You see, I'm not an expert of international law. I think there are some international procedures. I'm not aware of them, but I'm afraid in case any Russian soldiers identified as a war criminal will be back in Ukraine, we unfortunately could face some attempts to kill them by Ukrainian people, because they have a lot of hate in their hearts, and I could understand why. And they just want to revenge. And our task as normal society to bring them to court, not to give them to our people, not to give to allow to revenge as barbarians. We should act as people of normal society, and I afraid that it is possible, or a high possibility, if these soldiers will be bring to Ukraine, they could not be alive till the court. Because they bring a lot of deaths, a lot of crimes, a lot of tears to our people. It will be better to use international procedures, use international law, because I think we have the world have already rules what we should do in such situation. Our task is to, of course, to win, to end this war, and to record all the materials that could concern military crimes, and that could be useful for any tribunal or any court process.
It's very centered and balanced of you to say that about International Criminal Court. In the event that International Criminal Court does not try and prosecute these war crimes after the war, do you foresee any uprising happening by Ukrainians to bring them to justice in Ukraine?
Yes, if it will be impossible to bring them to any responsibility under the international court, I think our people, victims' families, they would demand to bring them to Ukrainian court, and actually, I'm not sure that our criminal codex even have a position of military war, but also I'm sure that have punishment for murders, for rape, and so on. But even I'm not sure there is any articles and punishment for military crimes, because I think it was impossible just to imagine such situation 10, 15, or even 30 years ago. Ukraine, as an independent country, is 30 years old. It was impossible to predict and forecast all this situation and put all these articles and punishment for military crimes in our criminal codex, for example.
Perhaps it's time for a change to come to the criminal courts with something much different in terms of rules of engagement in our criminal courts. I have in Ukraine's criminal courts. I wanted to talk about the relative calm that you're feeling now in Kiev and the movement toward May 9th, and which is sort of the day that Russia celebrates victory against Germans in World War II. A lot of people are predicting that there will be more war and bloodshed up until that date. Do you feel a sense of security is consistent or will continue in Kiev, or do you expect things to change a bit in the next weeks or months to come?
First of all, I believe that Putin and Russians, they are symbolists, and they have their May 9th like a national icon. And I could forecast that they may strengthen their activity and air attacks during this day. For example, we have Easter this Sunday, but following Monday, which is in Ukraine, in Ukrainian culture, in Orthodox culture, is also Easter Day. We have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. It's 3 days of Easter celebration, but on the following Monday, Russia made a lot of air attacks besides its Orthodox country, and they put a lot of priests in their army, and their patriarch speak about this war, that it's a good thing. They attack Ukraine heavily the following Monday after Easter, and they attack Odessa and killed a family with 3 months baby on the following Monday after Easter. And I wonder why they could not start on Easter, but they do all this dark their attacks on Monday. That is why I believe they will make, I think, heavy air attack in the beginning of May and closer to the May 9th, to the Victory Day. And I'm not sure that they could attack the whole territory of Ukraine because they spent a lot of their missiles already. Some our experts think that they have less than 40% of their missiles resource. It means that every day, because they attack every day, they have less and less possibilities to attack Ukraine. And also in March, Ukrainian armed force destroyed a lot of military planes and killed or surrounded military, I don't know how to say it in English, military aviators. I don't know how to call the man who manages the military plane.
Yeah, the commander or
the commander, yes.
Yep.
And killed or surrounded a lot of commanders with great experience, and now they have lack of experienced commanders to manage military planes. It also the factor that decrease their possibility to attack heavily. But Situation in southern Ukraine and eastern Ukraine, it's Donetsk, Lugansk region, it's Kherson, partly Mykolaiv, and they attack Odessa by missiles. The situation is extremely risky and dangerous, I could say, and I think the field of battle for the nearest 2 weeks will be southern and eastern Ukraine. Also, they tried to surround Kharkiv, but I feel here that they couldn't do it effectively because Kharkiv is a very large city, almost as large as Kiev, and it is physically almost impossible to surround it. You need so much troops to do it, and they couldn't stop food supply and humanitarian support. That is why Kharkiv stays strong and keep fighting. And I believe they in the nearest time they leave Kharkiv district and concentrate and focused all their resources to southern Ukraine. Now they almost take Mariupol, but Mariupol has, I could say, its heart, it's Azovstal. It's a metallurgical plant, one of the biggest in Ukraine and in Europe. And our very brave battalion Azov, extremely experienced warriors, still keep Azovstal. And Russian couldn't fight and couldn't take Mariupol as a whole city, despite the Mariupol buildings almost destroyed. But in Azovstal there is almost 1,000 of civilians. They are under in shelters, and there is Battalion Azov who defend them, and that is why Russians still try to fight Mariupol, because it helps them to build a corridor to the Crimea. And I could forecast that in the nearest 2 weeks, so it will be almost till the May 9th, the main battle will be in Donetsk region, Mariupol and Kherson. Kherson is now occupied, but people of Kherson, they are not stop fighting, and they do not stop resistance. They every day come to the center of the city with Ukrainian flags, and they ask occupants go away, because Kherson is a Ukrainian city. And I think that that Russians will keep attack Odessa, maybe also this 1-2 weeks, and they are not successful and effective in overtaking Mykolaiv. It's also South Ukraine, because their strong city authorities and military authorities and military administration in Mykolaiv is very strong, but they terrorize people by air attacks. When it is artillery, it is almost impossible to protect themselves. When it is air attack, we can use air defense, and our air defense is good. So I think that situation in Kiev, in western and northern Ukraine will keep almost on the same level, but with the moments of air attacking using rockets from Belarus, for example, or from Belgorod. It's border of between Russia and Ukraine. But the hottest battle using heavy artillery will be in the field of southern Ukraine.
So it seems the general understanding in Ukraine, and your understanding really, is that the areas that will sustain the most battle are really in the south.
Yeah.
And it seems that central part of Ukraine, the heart of Ukraine, Kiev, it will remain. Now, let me ask you a question. What are people thinking? I know things seem to be back to business as usual with massive destruction around you. So the requirements for more infrastructure investment is imminent and may take years to rebuild. And what are people thinking about the end of the war? Are they thinking it will go on indefinitely? Are they thinking there will be a definitive stop to it? What's the general consensus, the general opinion from you and your fellow citizens?
In my opinion, we could face a kind of stages of war. For example, now we are on the stage of direct hit, of direct battle. And it is possible after months or two to go to the stage 2, when we will have almost zero artillery attack, almost zero battles, but we have still will have risks of air attacks, risks of new war, but it will be the second stage, in my opinion, will be much easier for people to come back to their homes and start rebuilding infrastructure, rebuilding their houses, to make things more similar they have in normal peaceful life. But speaking in long-term perspective, having such a neighbor, we should be every time ready for their attack. It is very similar, as for me, like Israeli had. We just from the very beginning, from kindergarten, from school, every Ukrainian should understand that we have and always have a very dangerous neighbor, and this neighbor could attack every possible moment. That is why from very early age, every Ukrainian kid should understand what is danger signal, what is air attack, what is algorithm of his action, what should every kid do when he hears, for example, air attack sirens. What should do teacher when kids have a lesson and we understand that we have air attack or rocket attack. We should replan our infrastructure in order to have shelters in every houses. For example, experiences of Israeli when they from the I could exactly remember the year, but from a certain year, every house built in Israel should have a protected room. They called mamad, and there are certain rules for building this room. And in case of air attack or any danger, the family should gather in this room and keep safe. And I think it could be a rule for new buildings in Ukraine too. Also, we should revise our school for any children concerning infrastructure. We should revise shelter, because a lot of Soviet buildings, they have shelters. Our underground is a great shelter. And but for example, in Kiev, there is we have much more population that it was in the time where this infrastructure was planned and built. That is why water supply, toilets, and so on is not enough for the demand we have. So on the stage of relatively stability, we should replan of our defense infrastructure. And also we should be ready, every time ready, and and understand this, so the statement, not thought, it's statement, that we have a neighbor that could attack every time, and just live with it and have procedures and algorithm what we do in case of attack, how we protect our kids, handicapped people, elderly people, how our armed force act, and how critical infrastructure people should act in, but we should be ready. For example, we as NGO, we are not ready to any war. And when, for example, communication and advertising industry start their resistance campaign, informational campaign, we act very chaotically. It was badly planned because we are not ready for such scenario. And also a task for us as NGO and for a lot of non-government organizations, including Red Cross in Ukraine, for example, and United Nations related organization in Ukraine, to be more practical in their procedures, because they had a lot of text, they had a lot of printed materials, but for example, when we need to save people, women with children from Mariupol, Red Cross just raise their hands and do almost nothing. It's a task for government and for our country to do maybe another organization, another NGOs, another funds to do these functions. Because if Red Cross, International Red Cross, does not help us to help civil people from Mariupol, it means that we as a country, as Ukraine, should have kind of state organization or additional NGO to solve this problem. The general idea that we should revise all infrastructures and to have rules and procedures for case of attack, and everyone should know that in case of war start, we should act like this because we have all this planned.
And your company, IAB, is helping in that as well. Tell me more about how that works, how you will help to create this new entity as well, and doing it now in preparation, not just for perhaps next attacks, in preparation for the creation of a new life for all Ukrainians.
As NGO, we keep working since February, and in February and March, it was mostly a resistance campaign. We tried to unite agencies, advertising platforms, advertisers, raise money and make communication, make informational campaign to Russia audience, to Belarus audience, to Europe and United States with different communication messages. In April, when the situation became much better in Kiev, for example, we restart our routine activity. I think it's now it's level of 50% of our normal life. We restarted our committees, restarted our projects, despite the fact that me and one of our projects are in Kiev. Our coordinator is in Poland, and one more project is in Germany. But our COVID experience help us, and we work remotely, distantly, and it's okay. It's quite effectively. Also, we tried to support our national businesses because a lot of both international and Ukrainian advertisers stopped their campaigns because of war, and we launched some projects to help our industry to find new clients and to find international clients, for example. Also, we make barometers to understand situation and impact of war to our industry. And I could say that I have March results, and now we are in process of finalizing April. And I could cross my fingers. April situation show us that it is recovery, slow recovery of our industry, and our industry is also a taxpayer, and it's make their contribution to our domestic national product. So recovery in this field means that we made our contribution to total Ukrainian economics recovery. Also, we as NGO, we deeply understand that when the war will end, this experiences, this situation raise a lot of tasks for us. Tasks to build effective communication system for informational campaign, for informational resistance, which could be properly planned and with all functions and all roles planned beforehand. And in just we see the red bottom, we understand that we have war, crisis situation, ecological situation, call it, or something like that. We have planned infrastructure and every person in this structure understand his role, his responsibility zones. We could act, and actually it will be more effective that we do in March, because it was a lot of chaos, and it is understandable. And also it is experience of us for us to plan, to have scenario of pandemic, scenario of war, scenario of ecological catastrophe, and a lot of scenarios and a lot of algorithms to do. Also, we as NGO could raise this question to our cabinet of ministers, to the our government, and also we could propose our help and industry support just to fulfill this function, because I'm not sure that on government level, on country level, we have function or any person responsible for informational resistance. Also, it's a kind of vacancy, and we as NGO, we could fill this vacancy and do all this functionality good, because we are industry of advertising communication experts, and what we do perfectly for advertisers and for clients, we also could do perfectly for our country.
And that's what fascinates me, of the many things that fascinate me about you, Anastasiya, is that you have remained in Kiev. I know that others did too. And you said in another interview that you had no choice. That's what you did. You stayed. While other friends and Ukrainians were fleeing, you stayed. Tell me more about that choice for you and your children. Tell me about that choice to stay while others were fleeing. What were you thinking, kind of psychologically, thought-wise, scenario planning-wise? What was going through your head and your thinking process to bring you to that conclusion, to stay, to do well for your country, and to be there and continue as a citizen of Ukraine?
Okay. It was not easy decision, but it is very difficult for me to name any rational arguments, because for me it was more emotional. I just feel safe in my apartment, in my house. It's very difficult to share this feeling, but I have it. Feeling that staying in Kiev in my apartment for me and the 3 of my kids will be safe. for some days in March, we as Ukrainian had a general illusion that Kiev is under air attack, but Western Ukraine, for example, Lviv, Ternopil, Ivano-Frankivsk, they could not be subject of air attacking. But it was mistake. And one day, Ukrainians understand that every big city or every city with important infrastructure, both military or airports or meteorological plants and something like that, could be a subject of air attacking. And here I understand also, or not understand, but receive some rational arguments. In Kiev, there is the strongest air defense comparing to all Ukraine. Yes, they could attack every city in Ukraine, but when they attack Kiev, it will have the lowest efficiency rate, just because in Kiev we have the best air defense. And also I don't remember if I mentioned that fact. I'm not military expert, but I'm a medievist and I'm expert of military history. And for me, from my knowledge is I understand that it is very difficult to surround such a large city as Kiev, because Kiev is a large city with population between 4 or 5 million people. And Dnieper, it's a river, one of the largest rivers in Europe, divided Kiev into two parts. And to go from the left bank to the right, it's a transport task, not easy transport task, because we have not so much way to do it effectively. It means that even in case our enemy could, for example, surround a left bank of Kiev, it is easily to keep keep defense on the right bank of River Dnieper and right bank Kiev. I understand that if they want to surround Kiev, they should use almost all their resources. As I remember, Russians use about 100,000 soldiers to attack Ukraine, but they made a classical mistake. Instead of attack one point, for example, Kiev, they try to attack a lot of directions. For example, they attack Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv. It's the largest region's capital nearby Kiev region. And also they started their attack on south and western Ukraine, and it means they just dispersed their resources. And for me, it was understandable. I'm not a military expert, but I know military history well. It was almost impossible to take Kiev quickly, and they also have strategical mistake, because they think our people will invite them and will be very happy to see Russian tanks and will not resist. But it was definitely a mistake, because every small village made great efforts and great resistance efforts. It means that every this step on resistance slow down their ability to surround and take Kiev. And here once more, every time I remember the price of stability and safety in Kiev. It's a price of 1,000 killed, raped, murdered, tortured people in Chernigiv, Kharkiv, Sumy, a lot of villages in Kiev regions, and of course it's our cities heroes, it's small satellites like Bucha, like Irpin, like Hostomel. It our price and price of our understanding how to build lines of defense of such cities like region capitals, like country capital, and here I have not pleasant emotions when I think about the price we as Ukraine pay for keep and still paying this price in Kharkiv, still paying this price in Poltava region because they are object of heavy air attacks, but they could destroy, they could still make a lot of destruction and air attack, but we are a small country in terms of territory comparing to Russia, but we are a large country in terms of territory comparing to European country, and Russians need a lot of soldiers to occupy and to keep, because there is two different tasks: to attack, to surround, to take a capital, and another task, and it is more resource demanding to keep occupied territory under control, because population is not support occupants. Population resists. Population is full of hate, and we will resist in any case. So I remember that your question was why I stay, and I stay because I have emotional feeling that it will be safe for me. And also later I have some rational understandings that it is impossible for them to take Kiev as they take small cities. They couldn't even take Chernigiv, which is a region capital, but Chernigiv is much smaller than Kiev. But they couldn't take even Chernigiv, for example.
Well, their reign of terror has been unconscionable, and it must have a stop. And they have not been triumphant in those regions, nor will they, because of these kinds of resistance troops, resistance from your citizens, your volunteer army, your troops in the second force line, the first force line. You have three lines of defenses and many different forces above that. And largely Russia has, and I'm understanding here, has miscalculated the Ukrainian effort and defense to stop their reign of terror. And the price that Ukraine has paid certainly is incalculable, and the tariffs and amazing amount of sort of reparations that should happen after, whether it be Russian oligarchs coming to justice and Russian soldiers coming to justice, must happen. Really incredible, Anastasiya, what you've done, who you are as a person, as a patriot of Ukraine, as a leader of IAB and an NGO. Your government, I would think, I know, will be grateful for the help that you've done and will do to repair the communications infrastructure and prepare it really for the future with such knowledge and understanding of the algorithms, situations, stages of war, and other types of ecological and environmental disasters that may occur. You are at the forefront of not only understanding, but also of creating these kinds of initiative responses. You are an integral part of that resistance movement, and an amazing citizen of Ukraine, and just incredible person to know, for me to know, and such a pleasure to have you on the show and to hear your wisdom and your responses to these questions about this unconscionable war against Ukraine.
Thank you.